Hey man, I'm Bronson, and in this video I want to give you a really high-level summary of a really important event in Flesh and Blood history that I call Rudy Gate, where Rudy from Alpha Investments pulled an Arknight Shard and also a Fyendal Spring Tunic in the same booster box in the world premiere Crucible of War release. And the reason why I want to make this video and kind of explain all this to you is I feel like at the time this was really big. This was an insanely hyped video, and there's a lot of people in the background that had a lot of different opinions, which I'll give you into there. And I really want to take you back in time, because if no one makes a story about this now, if I don't do a time capsule type of thing, this story really is going to fade into oblivion. And the small amount of people that were around in Flesh and Blood in the beginning really know about this, but honestly, as time moves on, as things change, this story is going to be forgotten unless it's told. And on that note, I'm not trying to bash anyone. I'm not trying to bash Rudy or bash Legend Story Studios. Rudy from Alpha Investments, I like him. He's a nice guy. I've bought stuff from him in the past. I've been his patron. He's a cool guy. Legend Story Studios, you know how much hearts and loves I have for them. So I'm not pointing fingers at anyone or making any accusations in this video. All I'm saying is what the community felt and what happened in that event at the time. So first, let me bring you back, right? I'm going to bring you back mid-August 2020. And really the sentiment in the community was it was kind of a lull, I felt. No, I was beginning to get into community, and maybe more people have more of an aspect of, different perspective how they felt. But, Arcane Rising had been released for a while. Things were happening, but it was really trickled out in small types of information. And the Crucible War was being hyped up and drudged up, and the pre-release season of, spoiler season was going into play late in August, right? And Rudy from Alpha Investments had a video scheduled for late August to be the first guy who opens a Crucible of War box. And at the time, just to put you back into perspective, Alpha Print Welcome to Wrath booster boxes were $90 or $80. Sometimes you could get them lower than that. They were under $100 easy, and that's insane because now obviously they're over 1,000 as of November 2020. I don't know what it's gonna be way in the future, but just to put you in this perspective, Welcome to Wrath booster boxes, $80, really cheap. Singles were really affordable. Legendaries were under $100. Everything wasn't that hyped up in the secondary market, and the thing is, this was before the big hype, the big market spike, the secondary market spike that occurred in Flesh and Blood late in maybe August 30th and a little bit after that. But just to give you more of a bring you back to that time period, things were really kind of chill, and this thing was just getting on its feet. Now, Rudy from Alpha Investments released this video, and it was insane. Apparently, he pulled an Arknight Shard, the Fable card of the set, and a Fyendal Spring Tunic. And people were just like, it was kind of interesting. There's a real big split, right? So I feel like 90% of the population who watched this video, including myself, had no effing clue what was going on. We were like, oh, that's a pretty card. I guess he got lucky with doing that. And then there's a 5% to 10% of the population who were like, oh my gosh, well, this doesn't make sense. This box was seeded. Something is definitely amiss. Like, how is this possible? The odds are just insanely low, as I show above. And I'm going to get into that in a bit. And I want to put emphasis that I tried my best to, evaluate the probabilities and stuff. I'm probably wrong. I probably made some mistake. You can tell me down below. I encourage you to do your own math and research, but this is what I found. I'll get into that in a bit. But long story short, Rudy from Alpha Investments was scheduled to do the world premiere, the first box opening of Crucible of War. He opened his box and he got two really rare cards, and getting them both in the same box is just astronomically low. So I really want to pan out to the Reddits. So I'm going to go to the Reddits now. Let me make sure that you can see that. So this was the comment stream that was on Reddit, and like I said earlier, if I don't tell you guys this story, this is gonna be lost to time. And this kind of shows why. This thing was deleted 2 months ago. And it was the Reddit stream of, hey, did you see Rudy from Alpha Investments? He opened his box. And people had some opinions, man. I'm gonna go down the list. So, yeah, you can really see. So this guy says this has been controversial on Discord. Uh, Intrigued as Rudy viewer, but please elaborate. And basically, this guy was saying like, "Hey, like I don't understand, like how, like what's the big deal here?" And other people are telling them that, "Oh, well, this is insanely rare. Like that's why like this is a big deal." And yeah, I'll flip through this, really lightly, so you can pause on the video if you want and kind of read through it. Because again, like this is kind of gonna get lost over time, and I don't know how long Reddit keeps deleted streams, probably forever, but people are going to lose the link. I'll put the link down below to this, Reddit subreddit, comment post that was deleted on this event. But man, it's just it's kind of insane. Like there's a bunch of mixed types of emotions and feelings. Another big sentiment in the community is people are kind of upset that other content creators who had stuff scheduled in the future past August 24th when Rudy released his video, they had spoiler cards and Rudy kind of like, spoiled their cards first before the content creators. So, there was a big group of people who were kind of upset about that. I personally, I feel like you have to realize, this was a really great thing for the game. Obviously Rudy has insane, hype, and there's a big following of his that got a lot of people into the game. So I mean, as a person, I wasn't given a spoiler, so I can't tell you what I would do in that position. But at the end of the day, I think that this was a net positive for the game. The hype and really drawing people in before the Crucible War release was needed, and he had a really substantial platform to get more people into the game and get people hyped. And what I want to tell you before I get into all speculation stuff is that this is a really pivotal moment because I think that it had an impact on the first, like, really buyout. I call it a buyout, but there was a market spike at the end of August. That's when I got into the game. That's when I started noticing, oh, geez, this is crazy. And the Welcome to Wrath booster boxes went from literally $80 to $100 to something like $300 overnight. It was insane. And I know, I know you're saying $300. I'll do my credit card, but guys, this information gets lost over time. But yeah, Welcome to Wrath booster boxes spiked to like around 300, maybe $350 at the very end of August 30th, and moving on forward to that. So yeah, I feel like that moment, like it might have had an effect on that. It might have brought people in. Now there was other announcements too. A lot of people said that Flesh and Blood, they released an announcement that said, hey, we've been selling out a lot of our supplies. We've been doing better than normal. So that announcement really also, I think, was a catalyst for the secondary market hype and buyouts and what have you, and people really driving up the market spiking. But yeah, I mean, I feel like this kind of event was also big, and at the time, I feel like not many people realized how crazy it is, and it would get lost to time. So let me give you now. I'm gonna shift over into the speculations and what people thought of. So basically, people were under the impression that the chances of getting those pulls in that box were insane, especially for a world premiere exclusive, right? So I'm going to give you some evidence that I've figured out and kind of go in the possible outcomes of was this box seeded, was it tampered with, and what have you. So the first is the evidence. So I bought Welcome to a Crucible War booster box from Rudy, and in the beginning of his video you will see that there is a number code. So he holds up a booster pack like this, and he has a number code right here. Give me a sec, guys. Okay, here we go. Oh wait, I'm covering it. Here it is. So you see that 174? That 174 is really important because it's It's the pre-number for the number of cases that were produced, and it's kind of hard to give you kind of an estimate, but a lot of the people who sold these cases, the number on the cases was 176 or 175. There are not that many 174s out there. So the reason why that's important is because I heard in the past that Legend Story Studios, when they make these cards in all the sets, they first have a reserve to the side and they say, okay, these are meant for content creators and certain deals that we're going through in the future. So I think that he definitely did get a seeded, or not really seeded, he got a supply of really first printed Crucible of War boxes that were printed earlier than the rest. What that means, you can really decipher from there, but all I'm saying is when you saw the number on his pack, it kind of related to the case number, and the case number, in my opinion, I think was earlier in the printing. I don't know if that means anything. It's just is what it is. That's a little piece of evidence. The next thing I'll say is you never see the bottom of the booster box that he shows up. So he put the booster box to the screen, and you saw all the angles, but you didn't see the bottom of the box. And I think that that's really important because, you know, we don't know if like, was it previously open and he just put the wrapper over it? Like, there is a questioning mind of that I have is, you know, why didn't we see the bottom of the box? You know, I'll get into that later with the theories. The next thing I saw is it looked like there was like perforations on the inside of the box, but again, Crucible War boxes, they can get damaged, and those perforated marks for the cutout, sometimes they're broken naturally. I've had that on a lot of my boxes too. But I did notice some, you know, the things were already perforated, and it looked like it could have been, you know, opened previously. Now, another big, this is like the biggest piece of evidence is you've seen me do a lot of repack kind of videos and kind of explain that kind of stuff. And when I looked at the pack that he opened, it's really hard to analyze the pack in general. But what I can say is that I did see something like on the inside here. So if you look at how shiny this is and how like normal this is, I did see a little bit of smudge on that pack in particular than other packs. Was this screen glare? Was this anything else? Was this Rudy's sweaty ass hands? I have no idea what it is. You know, all I can tell you is I did see a little bit of smudging on this area. But again, like with repacks, I think it's really dumb to repack it here in the middle. You'd normally repack it at the bottom or at the top. So the odds of someone like gluing the middle part, I feel, is highly unlikely. I don't know why you do it that way unless you're trying to do some advanced technique that I'm not aware of. But I did notice some smudge, and you can take a look at the video. It's literally, you have to pause it at the very correct point, and even still, it really could be some wrinkling or screen glare. It's just what I saw. Compared to the other packs, and if you look at this pack like I've shown you, it's very clear right here. You don't see any smudging at all, and that's what I saw with the other packs, but I did see some little smudge when he opened the Arknight Shard pack. I didn't notice it for the Tunic, I just noticed it for the Arknight Shard. Now, that's kind of my like evidence that I found while researching this very interesting topic, but now I want to tell you about the possible outcomes that I saw. So basically, the math of it, when you go into the math, it's very low probability that all of these, like, that Rudy was able to pull these both in the same box. Like, the probability is very, very low. And if you look at the math up here, so Crucible War Box example, this is not the print run. I do not know the print run for Crucible of War. So this is kind of like a plug number that I put in. So let's pretend that the total amount of boxes was 25,000 boxes that were printed, right? Safe enough? Well, then there would be 600,000 Crucible War packs. Then we have the odds of pulling a spring tunic out of a box is 100 or 1 out of 480 and the Fable, Arknight Shard, the odds are 1 in 960. So these are the percentages per pack. What I did then is I multiplied it by 24 each, because there's 24 in each pack, and you get 5% chance, and then this, and then 3% chance for the Fable. So 3% chance for the Fable, and then 5% chance for the Spring Tunic per box. Those are percentages. So if you had a certain amount of boxes, that's how many times you'd pull it out of, per box, which definitely seems a little bit high. I don't know. Anyway, I from that, the population is 1,250 of the Spring Tunics out of 25,000 boxes, and 625 of the Arknight Shards out of 25,000 boxes. And I did the math, and I basically did this times this times this, and I got 31.25. And basically, what all that jank ass math is if you opened all of 25,000 boxes of the entire, estimated print run I have, or just example. I honestly think it's more than 25,000, but I have no idea what the exact print run on Crucible of War is. Please do not say Bronson, I don't think it's that, because I know it's not that. I'm just doing it for an example purposes. But if you have 25,000 booster boxes, if that was the number, then you'd have around 31 boxes that had both the Spring Tunic and the Arknight Shard in the box. And I think my math might be a little jank there with the 5 and 3%, but you get my point. The point is, if there's only 31 boxes out of the 25,000 boxes that have both cards in them, and Rudy was able to open 1 out of 31 of these, that's pretty freaking low of a probability, especially when you're making a video that's like the first printing of this, or the first world premiere of the Crucible War box opening to have these types of polls. And I don't want to make any accusations. I just know that a lot of people in the community were really questioning, and I don't blame them. I mean, I was wondering too, like wow, that is really low probability. Like, it's insane how that happened. So I now want to go into the what is it? The possible outcomes. So that's really the math. And again, if you have any better math than me, please put it down below. I'd love to hear your math. But really, to summarize all this, and this was just an example. I do not know the print run, but just to sum all this up, it's really fucking low probability to get both the Arknight Shard and the Fyendal Spring Tunic in a booster box, in the same booster box. Period. End of sentence. The probability is really fucking low. That's it. So here are the possible outcomes. So the first, I think, is Rudy could have resealed the box and resealed the packs. Now, does he have the means to do it? Yeah, he's a pretty smart guy. We've seen him in the past reseal booster boxes. We've seen him talk about reseal packs. He definitely does have the toolkit in his arsenal to do that. Would he do it to help these, to help Legend Story Studios out? I don't know. I believe that he's very, he's a good person. Would he go out of his way to try to help them out and do this? Possibly. I don't know. I'm not sure with that one. I don't think so at the end of the day, but I definitely do think that is a probability. Now, the second probable outcome is that Rudy did multiple box openings and then just showed us the one that was amazing. Now, this is also likely. Yeah, honestly, I'd be more inclined to say that this could be a probability. And there's other people on the Reddit talking about how they thought that was a probability, that Rudy just did 20 box openings and shot every single one until he got a really, really amazing one. And I definitely could see that would be an outcome. Do I think that? I don't know. It's really up in the air. Then the next is Legend Story Studios gave a seeded box. So Legend Story Studios themselves repacked the box, and they, or even before the box was even constructed, they put the Arknight Shard in there. They put, the Spring Tunic in there as well, and made sure that it was a legit box before they gave it to him. Honestly, that is really low probability to me. Like, I feel like they are the most like upright, like upstanding, ethical company that I've ever seen. They're very smart people, and they definitely. I don't think that they do anything to compromise their ethics or their real like their relationship with the public. I could be wrong with that, but I don't think that happened. I don't think that they would do that. I mean, they have such a badass game, and they have so much going for them that they really wouldn't take that chance. I mean, I feel like they're very smart, and they know that their stuff is going to do great long term, regardless of what press they get. So I don't think that. I think that's a really low likelihood of happening. Now, the last thing is, was luck just on Rudy's side? Did he just get like extremely lucky that the first ever box that he did for his box opening, uh, did this just divinely happen? I don't know. I mean, it coulda. I'll put that out there. It coulda, but I'll tell you this: that the probability that the first box for the world exclusive box opening being the God box of the 1 in 30 odds. And if you think about it, so 1 in 31 of those boxes have the Spring Tunic and the Fable, but then there's another 31 that probably have the Shiana legendary, and then the Arknight Shard in them. So you know could he done a little bit better if he got that? Yeah, but this is just insanely low probability that it was just naturally done that way. And to sum up those points, so basically I've told you either Rudy resealed the box and resealed the pack, either Rudy did multiple box openings and just used the best video of those box openings, or Legend Story Studios gave a sealed box or a seeded box that already had all the good stuff in it, or luck was on Rudy's side. I mean, I think that the most likely, if you want to ascribe to a theory of something went amiss, I think multiple videos might be the answer. I definitely see that could have been a thing, and that's kind of what I think if anything went amiss, if it was anything other than luck, that was probably what happened in my mind. And please, keep out, like, if you guys have other opinions, I'd love to hear them below, because it's a very interesting topic, and this thing has been like swept far under the freaking rug that nobody really like. I feel like not a lot of people remember this, but at the time, this was ridiculous, especially like if you understood the math and understood what was going on and how low of a probability this whole thing was. It's just really interesting to delve in and think about. So overall, I want to wrap it up there, and I appreciate you watching, and I appreciate you listening to this story. But just a note too is that if you're watching this far and you want to hear me ramble at the end, here's where you can tune into Bronson's rambling. But this really gives you an interesting question: is that if this didn't happen, if Rudy did do this, right? If he didn't pull the Arknight Shard and really good pulls and have some like really hyped up thing, would the market have spiked later that August, even with the great announcement that Legend Story Studios had? And we already know from I've watched a couple other videos of Rudy. He said that the CFB partnership was in the works since May. So if you think about the partnership agreement they had, at the time of trying to do an agreement, the boxes were like $100, or they were $80. But when they spiked later that August, that really added more like money in the pot for that deal. If you think about it, like the boxes that were going to be assigned to them anyway by Legend Story Studios, so part of that partnership agreement, right? Or I called it a business arrangement because literally it was. They gave them booster boxes of the alpha print, Welcome to Wrath booster boxes. And if you think about whatever the cost value of them was, early in May, the cost value was probably, let's say it was 100. Oh, no, I won't go too far. Let's say it was $10,000, right? That tripled to $30,000. Basically, whatever it was normally in May, 10,000, it literally tripled in late August when the market spiked. And I feel like this story was really a catalyst for that really pushed more people in the market, who were interested in Flesh and Blood to like go into the market in Flesh and Blood and really buy a bunch of stuff. Because at the time, man, this game just did not have too much of a player base, and it didn't have like too much of a hype in the secondary market, you know, before like this video was made. And it's really kind of an interesting topic to me, and I think honestly it's really one of the most important events to ever happen in Flesh and Blood history for the secondary market, and it's definitely something that was like put under the radar. And let me say at the end too, I really want to emphasize as well, I am just telling you a story. This is just an event that happened in history. I don't want to talk about other YouTubers too much. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to shell out accusations. I'm not doing that here. I'm just telling you a story. I'm telling you what happened in the past, and it's impossible for me not to mention, like, Rudy or Legend Story Studios in this without telling you the freaking story, because the story is really important. And you can't deny that it's an interesting event. It's a super interesting event that occurred in the past that people pretty much forgot about, and the history is getting deleted. And if I don't make something to really speak to this and really put it out there, this thing's just going to vanish. Like, no one's going to remember this, and it's just going to fade off into obscurity, and, everyone's not going to care. So I just wanted to tell you guys that, because it's really a really interesting thing to delve into. And please, if you were there, if you were in that vibe, if you were in the community at that time, I'd really be interested in hearing like what your story was, how you perceived this, what your thoughts of the matter was, because it's just really kind of interesting to see how perceptions change after a long period of time. And the new people coming into the game in Flesh and Blood now probably don't have that perception of the past and realize like how uneventful the secondary market was, and how uneventful a lot of things were before these key periods of time in Flesh and Blood history that really made everything go bananas, as one might say. But yeah, I'd love to hear your take on that. And hey, any of those mathematicians out there, I'd like to hear what you have to say about this math up here, and hear what your views of the probabilities and the flowcharts. And again, I'm just making up these numbers as an example for the 25,000 booster boxes as an estimate. Again, I feel like it's higher than that. I don't know exactly what the number is. That's just a plug number to show you how likely out of 25,000 boxes, only 31 of them are roughly had the Spring Tunic and the Arknight Shard in the same box. That's a rough estimate for the probability of those two items occurring at the same time. And yeah, I know this was a bit of a stretch video, but I really hope you enjoyed, and I really love the history of Flesh and Blood, and it's really cool to think back on, man, how far this game has come. Thanks for watching.